Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I welcome a good friend of mine, Pete Komolafe, back on to the channel to discuss yet another hot topic. And today we're going to be covering off NFTs. So this is really hot at the moment. There's a lot of interest around, do you get involved, do you not get involved? Is it a bubble? Is it too late? Are we still in early days? I haven't got all the answers, but what we are going to do is we're going to discuss it today and we're going to dive into it a little bit more, and hopefully the audience can come away with a little bit more information, and perhaps if you are getting involved, you'll be a bit more informed and have a sort of wider view on actually what's going on. So Pete, firstly mate, welcome back to my channel. It's good to have you. I like doing these calls with you.
Yeah, thanks mate, and happy new year to everyone, to you, to everyone who's watching and listening to this. It's good to be back.
Awesome stuff. Cool. Well, let's jump straight into it. This is kind of going to be a very big overview for anyone starting, more so for the beginners. I know I'm going to do a lot of learning through this, but Pete, let's kick this off. What are NFTs for anyone watching?
All right, so NFTs are this new, I guess, last year they kind of came to light, but it feels as though you can certainly go into this year, they're huge and they're really kind of like popular right now as the place to look. But it basically stands for non-fungible tokens. So it is essentially a digital asset which is verified on the blockchain, essentially. And because it's verified on the blockchain, you can't duplicate it. You can't have fraudulent copies of it. You get authentication through the blockchain. And what that basically means is that for things like art pieces, for example, you can have one of ones or one of 100. Where they are certified and authenticated via the blockchain. I think the most popular piece of art is probably the one that was sold last year by an artist called Beeble. I can't remember what it went for, but it went for something like $18 million or something like that. That really kicked off the whole NFT space and the potential for people to make a lot of money from it.
See, I remember hearing about NFTs when people started mentioning digital real estate, and I actually remember hearing about it early last year, and I paid no attention at all because I just thought, come on, like digital real estate, you know, we're not going to be looking at that now. I did think, okay, maybe digital real estate or digital art might be a thing in the future, especially when I knew more about the metaverse and I've done quite a bit of research. I thought, yeah, absolutely. But I can't believe how quick things have moved forward. It's almost like this has happened overnight. And certainly the stories that we're seeing, and to people that might be watching, they might agree and think everyone seems to be making tens of thousands of dollars, pounds by an NFT. And would you say at the moment we're very much in the hype of it, and will this settle, will this plateau and identify itself a little bit more?
I think and this is maybe a little bit controversial, there are people who obviously won't agree with me on this, but I personally think that the hype that we're seeing right now is just, people capitalizing on what we do know the applications of NFTs to be right now. So, for example, digital art is huge. Everyone's launching an NFT project where it's like an ape or whatever, or a bunny or whatever that might be. Everybody's doing that now. So I think there's a lot of hype around the things that have been identified, particularly with the Beeple sale, for people to say like, oh, by the way, this is going to make lots of money. People will often quote things like CryptoPunks, right, as the real case study for the kind of returns you can expect from a lot of these projects. But if you go onto OpenSea right now, you'll be very, very lucky if you find a CryptoPunk for sale. I mean, these things are worth lots of money now. Celebrities are buying these to put them on their Twitter bios as their profile pictures. And I was watching something over Christmas, because I did a lot of reading over Christmas on NFTs. They were saying that NFTs, the art pieces on NFTs, are going to be like the new flex for millionaires and billionaires. That whereas before they'll buy Rolexes and Rolls Royces and all this kind of stuff, now in the digital space, it is a CryptoPunk or it's a Bored Ape, right? These are the things that they're buying because they are rare. In most cases, like if you mint an NFT, yes, you can have, like, for example, Bored Apes, a ton of apes, but they all have their own attributes. So the rarity of your specific ape will have a score. So that in itself means that you get some exclusivity almost to the fact that I own this property that is rare in its own unique way as part of an overall collection, which is appreciating in price. We're not going to be able to replicate, CryptoPunks, Bored Apes too many times over, although there are a lot of attempts happening right now to try to replicate those kind of things. We're still very much at the beginnings of this kind of thing. But the thing that excites me about NFTs is the fact that we haven't really delved deeper into other areas where this can really make ground. I mean, you've got people like Tory Lanez who are selling NFTs, releasing music as an NFT, making millions within a few minutes and stuff. That's all very well and good, but the applications around music in the arts, you've got people like Gary V Friends, where you can buy an NFT, you get access to his seminars, and you get a little bit of access to him as well. These things are great, but they have to have utility. And if you're just buying something because it's a nice piece of digital art, well, there are lots of those projects out there right now. So how do you select it? That's the real question to be asking.
So this is the thing, is it? Are we in the stages of flexing at the moment with those with money? Because that's kind of where I feel that we're at the moment. And I think to give good perspective to those that are actually genuinely interested in buying NFTs, because look, let's face it, we're all guilty. As soon as something becomes hot, we all question ourselves to whether we get involved or not. And I suppose that's when the sensible investing and that that trader, that short-term trader mindset comes in. Is this something right for me right now? And I suppose I know that a lot of people are questioning, do I spend my last £500 of investment on an NFT? And this is why we're discussing it today, because how did this actually all come about? Was this from, just too much money with certain, big influencers? Where did this really come about to now where it's on the market and there's a lot of interest for, from us normal guys and girls who want to get involved? Where did it come from?
It's celebrity. Well, I would say the most notable purchase is when, you have people like Jack Dorsey buying like an NFT of the first ever tweet or whatever it is. You know what I mean? When these things enter into the mainstream and they capture people's imaginations, you can't help but sit up because the mainstream media pick it up. And don't get me wrong, it is a very, very exciting space. But at the same time, a Warren Buffett quote comes to mind straight away, where he says, be cautious when people are being greedy. Be greedy when people are being cautious. Guess what's happening right now? People are being really, really greedy and over enthusiastic about something new. And we've got to remember, and I had an email about this the other day because I did a video last Tuesday. There was a NFT mint for Bored Bunnies, and I was part of the Discord group because I was thinking, look, I'm going to research this, see what the community is about, what they're saying inside the group, so on and so forth. And then on Tuesday last week, all of a sudden, the Discord group went absolutely nuts. It went ape. Like, you couldn't refresh quick enough for the number of comments that were going through this thing. So they minted last Tuesday, and basically there is a confusion at the moment as to whether it was a legitimate project or whether it was a scam or not. There were a lot of people who went to websites that looked like the original website that minted on a website that ended up being a scam. And we still don't know whether the actual original project was actually legit or not, because there's not a lot of communication from the founders and people that run that Discord group. Massive question mark. And off the back of that, I got an email from someone saying, I watched your video. I minted an NFT on a website. I think they minted for 0.3 ETH or something like that. So it's still quite a bit of money, right? Nothing. And unfortunately, the reality of it is this. Yes, you can make money in NFTs if you pick the right project. You need to research the project, but ultimately, this is an unregulated environment. If you make a mistake, your money's gone. You're not going to get it back. You can't cry to the police. You can't cry to the FCA. You can't cry to anybody. You have to soak your own tears into your own arm and hug yourself and give yourself a little, a bit of comfort. It is still a very, very risky space if you don't know what you're doing. Research is absolutely paramount when it comes to this kind of stuff. But, mainstream media getting into this really does it. It helps with the hype and the reputation of these kind of things. And that's a good thing because you need that kind of hype and attention for it to be able to grow to the next level. But with that, there are also bad actors that will see it as an opportunity. And there's plenty of them out there.
Okay, so this leads nicely on to the next question, which is, we kind of already covered it off a little bit there, Pete, is, so can we make money from this? Obviously, we have to be cautious. We have to do our own due diligence. Obviously, we have to cover the basics there before going into any investment. But we hear a lot of people who have got a lot of money making bigger money. It seems ridiculous, in hundreds of thousands, millions overnight. But for us that do have £500-600, and let's call it that war chest money, that dead money that we've got, you know, our small venture capital, what kind of things do we need to look for? I know we touched on it very briefly, but in a little bit more depth there, what things do we need to look out for in order to pick the right NFT that might do well over short, medium and long term?
I think it's all about the projects and the project details first and foremost for me. I mean, and again, people will have different views on this if they're heavy into the NFT space. But in my opinion, the NFTs that I think will do the best are the ones that have either a following of some kind or they're linked to some kind of brand in some way, shape, or form. So there's a lot of news at the moment around, you know, brands like Adidas, for example, and Nike, people like that partnering with graphics companies to produce NFTs. Those kind of things I think will do very, very well because it's a brand like Adidas, it's a brand like Nike, it's a brand that has not just brand awareness, but brand reputation as well. I think those are the ones that are going to do the best. If you're looking at a project which you go into the Discord group or you follow them on Twitter and potentially all they're doing is basically paying, I don't know, Floyd Mayweather or some influencers to, you know, give them the virility that they need in order to get eyeballs on it, then for me, that is questionable. That's not to say that they shouldn't obviously use, you know, celebrities to get attention. Obviously, they need to be able to do that, but you need to have a look at the actual project itself. You know, how appealing is this going to be? And bearing in mind, there are thousands of NFT projects right now. How do you pick the right one? For me, it will be one where, you know, you've got a strong personality, a strong brand behind it, and it's got a really, really big following. There was one that was launched around Disney, and they minted an NFT of Walt Disney holding Mickey Mouse's hand, that statue as you go into Disney World in Florida. That is worth a shed load of money now, but it's a Disney NFT. So those kind of things are obviously going to appreciate in value. You just need to be very, very selective in terms of the research that you're doing and the project that you're doing. Get into Discord groups, get into Twitter conversations, see what's happening, follow people within that space. I follow a guy on Twitter who tweeted like 3 weeks ago. There was a guy in the States apparently been in the NFT community for the last 2 years. Apparently 2 years, gone to events, he was friends with people. He did a rug pull. He launched his project. He did a rug pull. And this guy was tweeting and saying, I can't believe it. I've had dinner with this guy. We've gone to barbecues. We've been to so many events. You never really know who's going to perform a rug pull. And it questions and basically demeans the reputation of the space. You have to be very, very careful with the selection of projects.
Yeah, totally. And look, for anyone watching, there's never any financial advice, but what I certainly would say is that, you know, due diligence is absolutely key here. And I think, you know, Pete, you even said it yourself when we met in London, is, you know, the detail, the devil is in the detail, sorry. And it's just looking at these finer things, because I think for anyone watching, it's so easy to get sucked in. I mean, look, we've all sat here and thought, you know, how can I be the one to make that next quick 100 grand overnight? And I don't think it's that easy. I think we hear a lot of the success stories. Let's throw a bit of reality back into it. We hear a lot of the success stories, but maybe we don't hear of the thousands that actually go horribly wrong. So there's always that to think of, that there's always that, if it feels too good to be true, it is.
Yeah. You know what, though? I mean, look, I don't think like that. And I know that I don't know, maybe I'm just weird. Maybe I'm just a freak in that way. I never sit here and just think, how can I make the next 100 grand?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not wired like that. And I know that many people do, but I think that can be a positive and a negative. It can be a positive because, yes, it can help you, you know, drive and build your own business and do those things, right? Things that are within your control, that you have to put hard work in. You have to take on more risk because it's you doing it.
Yeah.
But when you start thinking about how can I make the next 100 grand and you're looking for a project, a scheme, that in itself is dangerous. That leads people down the path of, you are going to encounter a scam if that is your mindset. And we say this all the time, mate. you have to think beyond, I want to be a millionaire, I want to do this, I want to get this, and wishing that your life was better than it is. There's a lot to be said for just being appreciative of where you are in the context of where you've come from. Because I don't care whether it's just the case of, I'm a little bit better off than I was last year. If you're better off, appreciate it. And over time, it's amazing how many strides and how much you can change, how much progress you can make. But you have to take a moment where you just appreciate where you are, look back and think, I've made it far. And I think that's really, really important for kids these days. Like, don't be jealous and don't be envious of somebody else's Instagram reel. A guy who's driving a Mercedes that he's probably got on debt. He's going out with this really fit chick who's basically after him for the money, and he absolutely hates her, but because it's Instagram, it looks good. We really need to get completely and utterly rewired again in this social media age.
Yeah, sustainability, consistency and discipline are three things that will normally see you through. And also, I think, just as we sort of talk on that, actually, just final points is, I think, obviously touching on the thinking of how can we make that quick money, I think until you've lost money, I don't know if you agree with this, I think until you realise the value of losing money, and I'm not talking about losing £100, I'm talking you go and lose £5,000-10,000, it will make you think twice about doing that again. So I think until people feel financial loss, I don't think necessarily their mindset changes, and because that's a learning curve, like we all go through that. So I think that's a big point. Okay, so how to buy an NFT? This is something that comes up quite a lot. This is a lot of questions that pop up. I want to buy an NFT. I'm gonna jump into it. How does someone actually go and buy it?
I think one of the biggest marketplaces at the moment is probably OpenSea. That's one of the biggest places that you can go at the moment. You've also got the likes of Solana Art, where you can buy NFTs as well. There's a few that with OpenSea, a lot of them are, you're paying ETH. And one of the big issues that people don't like at the moment is the fact that the gas fees on ETH are huge. With Solana, the gas fees are really, 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 really low. So even if you're minting something, sometimes if you're doing it on OpenSea under ETH, it's going to cost you hundreds of pounds to basically mint this thing. On Solana Heart, it's not as much, if anything at all. So OpenSea is probably one of the biggest marketplaces you can have a look at. There's Solana Art as well. And it's good because when you go and look at these things, certainly on Solana Art, you can start to, because if you're looking at a project, for example, I'm looking at one at the moment, which is called Danger Valley, which is basically a lot of ducks. And they all look very, very similar. But like I said, they have rarity scores in there. So you can filter down how rare one is. And that is then reflected, obviously, in the price, so on and so forth. But those are some of the two main places where you can actually buy it. But I think OpenSea is one of the biggest ones out there in terms of a marketplace.
And that's a case of opening an account, signing up as normal like you would on another platform, and then just opening it up and getting cracking from there, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you still need to obviously have a wallet. So people use MetaMask. You need to connect to your MetaMask wallet to it, deposit some money or deposit ETH if you've got ETH or Solana or whatever it is that you've got. You need to connect it so that you can actually see through the transaction. But it is relatively easy to do. It's not complicated at all.
Yeah. Cool, awesome stuff. Hopefully that was a bit of learning there for anyone who hasn't or thinking about buying. And now going back to, is this a hyped up bubble at the moment, or is this going to plateau and organically fit quite nicely into the metaverse? Because I suppose how lucrative is it going to continue to be to own digital art when we can hop into our metaverse Zoom meeting like we're having now, and I can see on the back wall there you might have a bit of digital art or one of the ducks hanging up. Is it something that's going to sustainably continue and perhaps get bigger and bigger, and eventually, do I dare say this, will it eventually become a good asset class to have, just like buying a painting now that's going to appreciate over time?
I think it's got the potential to be all of those things. I think it definitely has. With the move into like the metaverse and what that is potentially going to be, if people are going to buy, mansions online and will want a piece of digital art, and they'll want a digital car in their driveway because that's going to add value at some point. It's crazy to think about it now. It really, really is. It just, my mind is blown just thinking about that and just saying those words. It's like, really? But I think it's got the potential to be all of those things. I guess the question that we don't know the answer to right now is, what are the projects that are going to make it and sustain to those levels to that point in time in the future? And, are they even the right projects right now? Are the projects that will be the ones that will eventually turn out as valuable and fully functional in terms of their utility in the metaverse? Are they even around right now? Or because I think a lot of the projects that are out there at the moment won't do anything. Some of them will go to zero. A lot of them won't do anything at all. So have we seen the ones that are going to make it to that realm and be the Mona Lisa? We don't know. I don't know. They might already be here. CryptoPunks is probably one of them. Bored Apes is probably another one of them. But are they? They might be another one that's developed in, summer 2022. And it's like, that's the real one. The thing is, you're not going to know. And it's all about the research.
What's going to be the Bitcoin of these NFTs almost, what's going to stand the test of time. I think what's crazy as well, can't quite understand exactly how it works out as an investment and an actual purchase. But I believe that Michael Jordan was trying to sell his house. It was on the market for, I don't know if you saw this story. It was around about $20 million, dropped down to around about 14 million, wasn't selling. And some guys bought it as an NFT for $10 million. See, I can't quite get my head round, how that's a good financial transaction for certainly Michael Jordan. I don't know quite how that works in terms of...
Okay, so as he bought the house as an NFT, so he's bought the NFT and he gets the house with it as well.
See, this is what, perhaps I need to dive into a bit more, but I just knew that the house had been sold as the NFT for 10 million, but so I don't know, maybe I need to look into it more, but I'm not understanding that story of it.
Why I ask that is because there is a potential application for NFTs in the mortgage space where, at the moment, you go to like a mortgage broker and you've got to get a solicitor and a conveyancer to do the deeds of your property. And it takes a little bit of time, right?
Yeah.
There is the potential that when you go and buy a mortgage, you buy the NFT to the property, but you get the physical property. So the NFT is the deeds of the property. That would do away with solicitors, conveyancers, all of that stuff, streamline it. You can do that on the blockchain, boom, just like that, right?
Yeah.
So there is that potential application for NFTs in the mortgage space around that. If that is the case, if that's what he's done, then that is a really good case study for that. Because if he's bought the NFT, he gets the physical property. Because I don't know what value the digital version of Michael Jordan's house is going to have in the future. Is it worth 10 million? I don't really know. But if he's got the physical property along with it, I can see how that makes good sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm twisted on that. Who knows?
Well, I think, as we sort of come to a close here, I think depending on the angle that you look at this, it can seem quite shallow, the fact that you would just own something in a digital, soon to be in a metaverse, digital room, online, and you hold these arts, you hold a Rolex in an NFT or as a, digital bit of asset. I think it can seem quite shallow and perhaps those who have stupid money to play around with. But I think for anyone who's really interested in finance and investing and moving forward as we advance, I think it is something that we just need to listen into. But again, our message is always be wise, conduct thorough due diligence. Don't go throwing money around because your friend down the pub has told you to or supposedly earn a lot of money. So any sort of final words on anyone who might be watching this, Pete, thinking, I am going to get involved in NFTs? Any sort of final words to those individuals thinking about it?
Yeah, look, just do your research and just have a level head going into it. Don't make your decision based on hype. Like, really just don't. You've got to recognize that there are a lot of opportunities. And literally, I cannot stress this enough. I am looking at maybe 3 other NFT projects right now. I'm looking at Hate Beasts. I'm looking at Dronies. I'm looking at Danger Valley. Well, Danger Valley is already minted, but Hate Beasts are about to mint. Dronies are also going to be minting soon. And inside the Discord groups, there are scammers inside the Discord group who message you to get you to mint on their scam website, which looks identical to the authentic website. It is a minefield. I almost got caught with one. Oh. And it was very, very hard to tell the difference. I had to double check the URL. And what they did is obviously two I's or two B's, very subtle things that you wouldn't know. So you have to be really, really careful. Don't invest on hype, and you've got to do the due diligence. You've got to pay attention to the detail, because unfortunately, anyone can go and copy a website. There are very simple programs right now where you can copy the aesthetics of a website in like 5 minutes. Set up the domain name, get the website up and running, get into a Discord group, message people and say, we're minting right now, get over, connect to your MetaMask wallet, and off you go to the races. They're making a shed load of money. And it could be a kid in Timbuktu where you can't get hold of him. You have to be very, very careful. Do your research and try and be level-headed around it as well.
That was amazing points there. I'm glad we just finished on that. Is that, again, this is another opportunity for scammers. So early days, there's going to be people that are going to lose money to those who do that, unfortunately. But Pete, amazing. I think this has given and shed a lot of light on NFTs. Nice little overview to run people with and sort of give back that info. So Pete, again, thanks so much for coming onto the channel and everyone that's watched. Pete, just finally, actually, if anyone wanted to touch base with you, learn a little bit more about what you do, where can they head off?
Yeah, just YouTube, Conversation of Money, Instagram, Conversation of Money, the podcast, Conversation of Money podcast. Those are probably the three major outlets. I have just launched a digital magazine. It's called The Convo. So you can subscribe to that on my website, conversationofmoney.com. The first one is going to go out today, actually, 3:00. But it's cool. It's there about investing, cryptos, all things finances. And it's just designed to be news in simple formats. We've got a section on there which will improve your financial vocabulary every single issue as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, send me over the link. We'll include that in the description below. And for everyone watching, thanks for joining us, and we will speak to you all very soon.